Hello crafty friends and welcome to episode 1 of MOJO May 2025. This month on my channel there will be a video every other day, so that's 16 videos in total, and in every video I'm going to do some card making, but I'm also going to be sharing some tips and tricks on how to get your mojo back if it has disappeared, how to get your creative juices flowing again. I've got lots of ideas, but if you've got some tried and tested methods, then feel free to share them in the comments. The more the merrier. For our first MOJO May technique, I'm going to use my prompt list. Now, I've shared this quite a few times, and each time I have, it's grown because I discover new techniques and supplies and things, and I add them to the list. So the idea is you use a random number generator to generate some numbers, and those numbers correspond to something on the list, and then you use them in your card making or whatever kind of craft you're doing. You can get random number generators as apps on your phone or tablet. You can go to Google and just type in random number generator. For your minimum number, you want to put number 1. For your maximum number, in this case, on this prompt list, you want to put 243, and then you hit generate and you use the item or items that the numbers give you. So let's say, for example, I hit generate and it gives me 70. 70 on here is embossing folders, so I would use an embossing folder on my card. And you can say do it 5 times, pick 5 things off the list and use that to get your creative juices flowing. Obviously, if it picks something that you haven't got or you really don't want to use, then you don't have to use it. The list and the idea is here to serve you, not the other way around, so you can use it however you want. I will put a link to this document in this video's description, so you can download this if you like. But instead of using a random number generator today, I went onto my Facebook group and I asked people for a number between 1 and 243, and I got loads of answers, and I had to close the comments on the post after about 2 minutes because lots of people gave me numbers, and these are the numbers I received. So I can select from this list. I've got embossing powder white, scraping, folding, basic die shapes, contact paper, double-sided sheets, DIY pattern paper, laminating, thinking of you, fancy folds, black cardstock, deli paper, number dies, bubble wrap, DIY embellishments and sponging. So I may not use all of those, and I may use techniques that are not included in this list, but it's given me somewhere to start. So right off the top of my head, I'm going to do folding and make a card using a fancy fold. It's going to be a thinking of you card, and I'm going to do some DIY patterned paper. So I've got here a piece of mixed media paper. It's A4 in size, and this is going to be my card blank, and I'm going to do a fancy fold. I've got my scoreboard here, and I'm going to score a line at 10 centimetres and 20 centimetres. A4 paper, for those who don't know, is almost 30 centimetres high. So that's almost 4 inches wide, and I want it to be roughly 6 inches high. So now I've got a tri-fold card or a Z-fold card or a Z-fold card, depending on where you are in the world. But I want to do something extra with it. I've got my rule of thirds grid here, which just about fits. And I'm going to mark on this one here, so on the left-hand fold, a third of the way down. And on the far edge, the right-hand edge, a third of the way up. And I've got a metal-edged ruler here, and I'm going to make a hopefully straight cut from there to there. And I'm also going to cut down from here to this bit here. In fact, I'm going to do it the other way, so I cut away from the card. So this bit I don't need, that's going to go in my scrap box. Someone has just started a chainsaw nearby, so I may have to switch to voiceover in a minute. So now we've got a Z-fold card, like that, and it's got several layers. So we can cross off folding and fancy folding. I decided to use mixed media paper for this because I want to do DIY pattern paper using my smusher. So it needs to stand up to some water. And as it's a thinking of you card, I didn't want it to be too bright and bold. So I've got Stormy Sky Distress Oxide, which is a pale purpley blue. And I'm going to smush over this. You could smush before you do your folding and your cutting. And I'm not worried about it going on the underside because I'm going to smush on that side as well. And I'm going to add some evergreen bough too. I'm not drying it. I want the colours to mix a bit. But I will dry it now because I want to do the other side as well. Right, that chainsaw is getting louder and louder, so I'm going to switch to voiceover. So one of the other prompts that my Facebook group gave me was to use white embossing powder. So I've chosen a floral rubber stamp, inked it up with embossing ink, dusted my card front with talcum powder to remove any moisture, static or grease, and then I stamped the flowery stamp over the whole of that card front. I then drizzled on some white embossing powder and heated it with my heat tool, and that gave me a lovely subtle floral pattern on top of my smushing. I also did the same thing on the very front, the small diagonally panel on the front of the card, so it's repeated in two places. I did feel that I needed a bit of separation between the folds, as it were, so I added a strip of masking tape on one side of that diagonal line and added some evergreen bough to give me a nice bold band across the top. And as you can see, that gives some nice separation. I did it on the other side as well, the other side of that diagonal cut line, so that when the card was folded shut there would be a band on the other diagonal line, again giving some separation. So I decided I wanted to stamp my thinking of you on a piece of vellum and put it on the large rectangular face of the card. So I cut the vellum with a stitched rectangle panel, but before I did, I put double-sided sticky adhesive on the back because double-sided sticky adhesive or double-sided sheets was one of the prompts. I then stamped Thinking of You in embossing ink in the top portion of the vellum panel so you could see it when the card was fully closed. So I stamped that in sticky embossing ink, drizzled over some white embossing powder again, heated it with my heat tool carefully so as not to warp the vellum, and then I stuck it in my card. But as soon as I did that, I regretted it. I didn't like it. The sticky adhesive gave it a kind of yellow tinge which didn't work with the colour scheme. So I decided to remove that sticky vellum panel. And I knew it was going to wreck the back of the card, but that was okay because I thought what I would do is put a white cardstock panel where I'd put the vellum panel. And because I peeled the vellum up from the edges towards the middle, I didn't wreck the outside edge of the card panel, which meant that when I glued my white panel down, it completely covered up the mess. And I was much happier with this. I felt that the card really benefited from having that white panel, and it gave me somewhere to stamp my thinking of you, and I decided to do that in evergreen bough so that it tied in with the colours that were already there. I did use a sponge dauber to put my Distress Oxide on my stamp because I find I get a much better stamped image when I ink my stamp up with Distress Oxide on a sponge dauber. And so here is the finished card. I hope you like it. I hope my Facebook group likes it, seeing as they're the ones that prompted me to make it. And I do hope that you'll join me for MOJO May for lots more ideas on how to get your creative juices flowing. If you would like to join me, then definitely subscribe and ring the notification bell. And if you have enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate a comment and a thumbs up. Right, thanks for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.